At first, it looks normal, but then it isn't. Let's look at how to take any normal Blender scene and turn it into the upside down. Let's dive right in. This room is loosely inspired by the Will Byers place from Stranger Things Season 1. Nothing too complex, just a familiar, calm space. And that's important because the contrast is what really sells the transformation. I set up this scene in Blender 5.0 and added some post-processing using the compositing nodes in 5.0. Just some sensor noise, chromatic aberration, vignetting, and bloom. And this is the scene that I started with. First thing I always do is duplicate the scene. One version stays clean, the other one we break. After pasting everything into the new scene and changing the renderer to cycles, we were ready to start working. The first important thing, lighting. Upside down doesn't have any warm lights. Lighting is doing most of the heavy lifting here. I'm cooling everything down, increasing the contrast and letting the shadows take over. The room should feel colder, almost drained. I added a large area light outside the room and changed the color to a cool blue. Adjust the strength and saturation until you're happy with how it looks. Then I also selected my string lights and turned down the brightness on all of those. Next step, materials. I'm keeping them subtle. A little noise, slight roughness variation. I added a mix color to the base color of the principal BSDF and mixed in a noise texture with a color ramp. Adjust the scale, roughness, detail of the noise texture to your liking and then move around the sliders to get the look that you want. You can also change the mix mode to multiply if you think that looks better with your scene. If you want, you can also add some roughness variation if you want some surfaces to look wet or slimy. Once this works on one surface, I repeat the same logic across the scene throughout the different materials. Next step, fog. Volumetrics instantly changed the mode. I added a cube to cover my scene and connected a volume scatter to the volume of the material output. I am mixing a noise texture with the color ramp to keep the fog uneven and alive. The goal isn't smoke, it's atmosphere. Adjust the noise texture to your liking and then move around the color ramp sliders till you think the fog looks good. You can also change the colors of the fog by changing the color sliders in the color ramp. I changed the color of the white slider to a deep blue because I think that suits the upside down better. Play with the density and the color ramp sliders. Next up, we have vines. This is where the upside down really starts to take over. Add a Bezier curve, go into edit mode and delete all the points. Then select the draw tool and change the mode to surface. Now you can just draw on your surfaces and the Bezier curves will stick to it. This is a really cool way to make organic looking shapes without manually adjusting them in edit mode. Then I drew a lot of vines to cover our entire scene. You can also add bevel depth in the geometry so that you can see the vines better. Once I was done, I noticed some of the vines not sticking properly to the surfaces or poking out at certain places, so I manually adjusted some of the curves. Just select the control points, rotate and move them around until it looks natural. Once you're done drawing all the vines, you can even simulate a cool growing effect by changing the start and end remapping of the Bezier curves. By changing the end value from 0 to 1, you can see that the vines grow. But they look like cylindrical pipes, so let's fix that. Add another Bezier curve and select that as the taper object in the vines you drew. Now we cannot add a Displace modifier directly on curves, so I made a simple geometry node setup. Add a new geometry node modifier on your curves, a resample curve and a set position node after the group input. Now you can connect a noise texture to the offset of the set position and control it with a scale node in between. You can pause the video to check out this simple node setup. Then for that extra sauce, I changed the noise mode to 4D, and if you animate the W value with a driver, for example hash frame by 100, 200 or any higher value, the driver will change the W gradually and you can see that causes a cool pulsating effect in our vines. I rendered out a play blast just to check it out. I was quite happy with how they were looking at this point. Remember the previous Bezier curve we added? You can edit that in edit mode to change the taper on your vines. Then I set some keyframes for the start and end remapping to make the vines grow from nothing. This is the animation I ended up with. And then the vines continue pulsing because of the geometry nodes that we added on it. For the materials, I kept it very simple for the sake of this tutorial. I connected a noise texture with a color ramp into the base color and another noise texture with a high scale into the roughness input to give us some specular highlights. It's not perfect by any means, but you can experiment with your own materials for the whites. I think they work very well for the purpose of this small video. Next, ash. The upside down always feels dusty, so I'm adding some slow moving ash particles. Add a large cube to cover your scene, increase the lifetime and the start and end frame to 1 so that all the particles appear instantly. In the field weights, turn down gravity, and in the velocity, make the normal velocity 0. You can also change the source of the particles to volume. I added a mesh circle, filled them inside and duplicated them. Then I went into edit mode, turned on proportional editing and made some random ash shapes. Put this all into a new collection, and in your particle settings, choose collection and select this new collection of ash that you made. You can increase the number of particles. I used 5000 for instance, and you can increase the Brownian under physics or add a turbulence field for more realism in the movement. For the material of the ash, I just added a mix shader and mixed an emission and a transparent shader to give us an ethereal ashy look. I did a quick render to check out how the scene was looking, and the ash looked good at this point. Change the Brownian or the turbulence settings and then bake the particle motion. And this is what I ended up with. Large variation, soft movement and nothing moving too fast. This should feel like the air itself is contaminated. Finally, the lights. This is very simple. Just add some keyframes to your emission values, go into the graph editor and add a noise modifier. You can check out my video on Flickering Lights in the description for a more detailed explanation. Then just add some camera animation and duplicate the camera to both of your scenes so that you can seamlessly flicker transition between the right side up and the upside down world. And that's it, a normal room slowly pulled into the upside down. If you found this useful, there's more breakdowns like this coming soon. Thanks for watching and subscribe to Pixel Bender.